Last night's my horror night.
Good evening and welcome to The Last Video Store. I'm your host, Bud Haddonfield, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about some anthology horror movies. Anthology horror movies are movies that consist of individual stories. They can either tie together or they don't have to be related at all. So I figured today we're going to talk about 12 of my most favorite, my top 10 plus 2 honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is going to be Campfire Stories. This movie came out in the early 2000s, and it had Jamie Lynn Singer, the daughter from The Sopranos. Also, David Johansen, who I think he also went by Buster Poindexter. He was in another anthology movie that I'm not going to be covering on my list, and that's Tales from the Dark Side. He was in Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan. He sung some stuff, and he was in that really cheesy remake to Car 54, Where Are You? And this movie also starred a young Charlie Day and the guy who played Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This was a fun movie, low budget, but it was pretty cool to see, like I said, the two guys from It's Always Sunny before they made It's Always Sunny. So check this one out. It's out of print, but you can find it pretty cheap on the internet. So it's not a bad movie. It was streaming on YouTube last time I was strolling through and I came across it.
You guys have a spare tire for your car?
I know you got a spare, right, Teddy? Teddy, please tell me you have a spare.
It's not.
Oh, I don't.
If you weren't being, Mr. Joe Tough Guy, then maybe I would have missed the hole in the road.
Oh, you would have missed it. What about the hole in your head?
Shut up, okay? We'll get a tow truck, is all.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. We'll get a tow truck, is all.
Well, my next honorable mention is going to be Campfire Tales. This was a really fun movie. It came out in the late 90s, I believe 1997. It had all kind of people in it who was pretty much in a bunch of other movies. Jay Ferguson, Christine Taylor, Christopher Masterson, Kim Murphy, Ron Livingston, Jennifer McDonald, all kind of people. Glenn Quinn, who was in Roseanne. He was Mark, one of the guys who married Becky, but he passed away. He was a good actor, but it got a lot of cool actors. Like I said, James Marston and Amy Smart. And this is a cool little tale about a vehicle who breaks down on side the road. They thought they got into a wreck, so they get out, and this was back before cell phones, so of course you have to wait around for somebody to come. They were on their way to a concert. They passed the time by telling ghost stories. Some of the stories consist of the Hook Man, which I always thought was cool and very underrated and not utilized as much as possible in horror movies. There's a really cool honeymoon segment where they got these creatures that eat people. I always thought that was one of the best segments of the movie. They got a weird little ghost story with Glenn Quinn and a pedophile story. So, yeah. This one's pretty cool. Please, Shout Factory, put this out on Blu-ray. We need it. We got an out-of-print DVD and a couple bootlegs. I can only find the bootleg. So, yep. Campfire Tales. All right, down to my actual list. Number 10 is going to be Nightmares. This movie was put out by Shout/Cream Factory a couple years ago. This one was pretty cool. It came out in 1983. You got Emilio Estevez, Lance Hendrickson, and Richard Malzer. He's a very recognizable mustache fella. But this movie is actually pretty cool. This one was always playing on Sci-Fi Channel in the 90s. And it has something to do with a killer hitchhiker, a video game story about a dude losing his faith, and a killer rat segment. So this one's pretty solid. You can catch this one. It's still on sale. Well, I say on sale, it's still on print, in print. So, 1983's Nightmares.
That you'll never forget. I am positioned for battle.
You can't kill it!
Nightmares is this year's sleeper. Rated R. Now playing in New York. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Number 9 is going to be Terratrack. This one was always playing on USA. I enjoyed this one. You had John Ritter, Bryan Cranston, and Buff the Stuff Bagwell. This one was pretty cool. You had a segment about a killer monkey. I think they had another ghost story, and it had a little slasher story, something about the granny killer, something like that. But this one was pretty cool. I believe it was a made-for-TV movie in the early 90s. No, 2000. So, I'll be damned. So, it was always on the TV in the 2000s. So, Terratrack. This one only came out in a standalone, no in the US, with a 2-pack with Cherry Falls. Cherry Falls did get a Blu-ray release from Shout Factory. So, Shout Factory put this one out on Blu-ray as well.
I can't have anything for you till Monday.
Can't wait till Monday.
Bud, like I told you, it's a busy day. All my trucks are out.
Then I'll drive you.
You sure are anxious to get rid of that monkey, aren't you?
I'll give you another 100 after you get him.
What's the hitch?
I told you, he's dangerous.
No problem. It's go time.
This way.
Why don't you wait out here? Give me a couple minutes to find that little fucker.
This was probably my more recent movie, and for the number 8 spot is going to be Late Fee. This one came out in 2009. It's about a couple going to find a scary movie to rent on Halloween nights, and as they rent it, the guy tells them, hey, you have to bring it back before it's due, or the late fee is going to be extremely uncalled for, but it's something we do, so fucking bring our movie back. This was fun. It's kind of cheaper made. A lot of people talk shit about it on the internet, but I thought it was worth watching. So, late fee. Check this one out.
We have a very severe late fee policy.
All right, candy. We have to watch these and return them before midnight.
Not a minute later. No exception.
What's the scariest stuff you got?
Hey.
Hey, what about this one?
You over 18?
There's nothing to be afraid.
I'll send a small box of smallpox. A large tub of
Shit! It's after midnight.
your rose for home use. A crate full of hateful.
Timing's perfect.
You're the coolest little monster that ever put.
Damage is done.
See this? I'm always down for a good brain suck.
'Cause you're the coolest little monster that ever put the spook on.
Yeah, I got your late fee right here.
My number 7 and 6 spot has the same directors and stars. They're back-to-back, both great anthology movies. Cheaper made, but sometimes I like the cheap stuff. And for the number 7 spot is going to be Freak Show. This movie came out in the early 90s with the star Gunnar Hansen. It was directed by William Cook and Paul Talbot. Really fun. Not much I can say about it. These are just movies that a lot of people haven't heard of, so I don't want to just ruin it and tell you what it's about, but check it out. I know it was streaming on YouTube, and this, along with my sixth spot, is out of print, but hopefully we get a Blu-ray of these two, but they're a lot of fun. They're cheesy. Freak Show obviously has to do with the circus and the carnival and whatnot, but anything with Gunnar Hansen is amazing because he was one of those actors that everybody always spoke highly of. Had a great attitude, great screen presence, I thought so. So, Freak Show.
Ever wonder why you're so skinny? Why you never had an appetite? It's because you're one of us. You're our flesh and blood son, Danny. We lost you when you were just a wee pup, but we swore we'd find you again to preserve our race, and we did.
Let's eat now. Everything's gonna be just fine. Yes, Danny, you shot him, but it's all right. We're going to eat him now, and it's not bad to eat what you kill.
You know, Danny, this is a real treat for us. We rarely get to eat fresh human anymore.
On special occasions, we used to go down to the old cemetery, but the embalming chemicals they use nowadays make them damn near uneatable.
Well, eat all you want. There's plenty for everyone.
My number 6 spot is going to be another similar title that we had before, and that's going to be Campfire Tales again. This movie was really cool. I stumbled upon it on accident. This one I find is better than Freak Show, but Freak Show is still a good movie. And it's about these 3 teenage boys are having a little camp out, and they come across this drifter played by Gunnar Hansen. And the stories are really fun. It has something to do with some killer weed that if you smoke it, it turns you into like a zombie creature, whatnot. It has a zombie pirate story. It has another Hookman story. So like I said, I always enjoyed the Hookman stories. And a cool little wraparound segment. I think a Killer Christmas story too. But this one's a lot of fun. I know for sure this one's still playing on YouTube if you try to stream it on there. This one came out in the early 90s as well. I don't know the date offhand, well, the year offhand, but a lot of fun. Check it out. All right, for the top 5 spot, with my number 5 being Dead Time Stories. This one was really cool. Also put on Blu-ray by Shout/Scream Factory. This one's a lot of fun. I talked about this one on my top werewolf movies. This one has Rick Springfield. No, sorry, not Rick Finn. Scott Valentine from My Demon Lover. This one's a cool little anthology movie. It has a Little Red Riding Hood segment that I talked about last time with the werewolf. It has a witch segment, and pretty much this dude's babysitting his nephew, and he's jumping around in the bed, and the only way he can get him to go to sleep is if he tells him some bedtime stories. This one was streaming on Amazon Prime last time I checked, but you can still get the Blu-ray. Very fun. Can't recommend it enough. Dead Time Stories.
In addition to the Bear family's bloody escape today, police believe the murderess Goldie Locks, who escaped last week, is now in our vicinity. Miss Locks, who has been periodically institutionalized since the age of 8, exhibits extreme psychotic behavior and is believed to be responsible for the deaths of at least 14 people, including her own parents.
I'm standing
You are going to make me a star.
Jack B. Quick,
I'm the darling of the media already.
Captain Quick.
Number 4, and that's going to be George A. Romero's Stephen King's Creepshow. This movie was a lot of fun. Had a lot of good actors in it. Remember loving this movie as a kid, along with the sequel. Not necessarily part 3, but the TV show was actually very good on Shudder. This movie, Leslie Nielsen, Adrian Barbeau, Hal Holbrook, E.G. Marshall, Ted Danson. What's the name of that dude? He was the bad guy in The Rock. Ed Harris is in here. The segments has a wraparound with Tom Atkins being a prick dad, and the kid who's grew up to be, I know, Stephen King's son. I can't think of his writer name. He did a bunch of stuff like Heart Shaped Box. Joe Hill it is. And the segments is Father's Day. That was pretty cool. Got a pretty cool little zombie skeleton in it. You have the Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, which Stephen King plays a small role. Well, he plays the lead role in that one. It's about a meteor hitting kind of like the Blob, and he touches it, and pretty much grass just grows on him. So that was kind of sad. It was depressing as a kid. You have Something to Tide You Over With, where a jealous husband, his wife had been cheating on him with a younger guy played by Ted Danson. So he buries them up to their necks in the beach, and they come back, and apparently he can hold his breath for a long time. And then you had a cockroach story, which the cockroach story wasn't the coolest one. But my favorite was the crate. It was an Arctic crate that was found, I think, in a college underneath the stairwell, and it had the beast Fluffy in it, and that thing was fucking scary. Yeah, Creepshow. Everybody should know about this movie. If not, check it out.
You hear that? There's something in there, Don. Something shiny. It looks like a couple of emeralds.
My number 3 spot is going to be From a Whisper to a Scream, starring the great Vincent Price. This one was directed by one of my favorite directors, Jeff Barrow. It was really cool. I think the original title was The Offspring, and it has to do with the first segment. Clu Gulager, he was an actor, a cowboy actor. He was in Return of the Living Dead. Passed away a while back. He stars as like this weird guy who works for this one business. He looks like a supervisor. He got these big, thick Coke bottle glasses and like slick back white hair. And he kind of has the hots for one of his employees, but she obviously does not share his same feelings. So one night he kills her. They find her dead body. She's at the funeral parlor, and he goes have sex with the dead body. Don't do that. That's not cool. And 9 months later, he has fit again, kills his sickly sister, who he has to take care of, and the Offspring tunnels out and comes after, and he gets him. You have another segment about some killer kids, I think from the Civil War. They're taking it out on the soldiers, and that one was pretty cool. You got a voodoo story, which was really cool. That was a good segment. Cameron Mitchell, Terry Kaiser, Weekend at Bernie's. He was in that one, old Bernie Lomax himself. And it has a cool little wraparound story. But check it out. From a Whisper to a Scream, another one put out by Shout Factory. This one was streaming on Amazon Prime, if you have just the regular Prime.
He must be in hell. I wish there was something we could do for him.
Look, you really want to do the man a favor? Then pray. Just pray to God the poor bastard dies as soon as possible.
I figure you live another 70 years or more. 70 years or
Down to my 1 and 2 spots. It was really hard to pick which one went where because I adore these movies so damn much. One was one I recently discovered within the last couple of years, and that made my number one spot just because I just thought it was really cool. But my number two spot was a movie that I've always loved since I was a kid, and it was Tales from the Hood. I absolutely adored this movie. I remember renting it in the early 90s when it first came out. 1995 or some mid-90s. This one was pretty cool. It's about some gang members. They are looking for some shit. And they go to this mortuary. And the main actor in it, he's very recognizable. I don't know his name offhand. Clarence Williams III from the Mod Squad. And he was in House Party 3. I like that movie as well. But you got Corbin Burnson, David Alan Grier, Wing Hauser, bunch of recognizable actors. This one was directed by Rusty Kundolf. I know I'm probably butchering that title, but I got to meet him a while back. He was filming a movie at my in-law's house, and the nicest guy signed an autograph for me. Very awesome, genuine guy. I cannot recommend his movies enough. But Tales from the Hood's really cool. Like I said, he tells these gangbangers some different stories. One has to do with some racist cop that kills this political advisor, not political advisor, but political beta, whatever the hell they call him in the movie. And he comes back. The second one with the dolls, that one was the best story. That one used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. You had the last segment was always the most confusing. I didn't understand that one until I was much older. But it's pretty much about a guy who just has a lot of hate in his heart, and he's going through trials and tribulations while he's in prison. And for some reason, he just cannot get over himself. So he has to pretty much burn all of eternity in hell. And it has the best wraparound story. Welcome to hell, motherfuckers. Tales from the Hood. All right, my number one spot goes to Screams of a Winter Night. This movie is really cool. Was made in the late 70s, filmed in Louisiana. A couple of the actors are recognizable. I know one of the main guys who played one of the assholes. He was Fat Kid's dad in The Big Green, and William Ragsdale from Fright Night was in here. Played like a teenager, early 20-somethings. But it's about these group of 20-somethings going to this weird cabin. And they got like some stories about some Native American curse that's on the property. And the segments are really cool. It is a lower budget movie, but it's just very eerie and creepy at the same time. This one's still currently streaming on Shudder. So check this one out. Code Red put this one out. I think it's out of print. But if you can find a copy, do so. I cannot recommend this movie enough. So that was my top 10 favorite anthology movies of all times with 2 honorable mentions. I would say check them out if you haven't. I cannot recommend these movies enough. You can pretty much find them, not too hardly. Thank you all for tuning in, taking the ride with me. These movies, they're not the best anthology movies out there, to everybody's opinion, because there's others that I think are equally as great. Just those have a near and dear piece of my heart into them, because I watched most of them as a young child, and they just sat with me, and I enjoyed them throughout the years. So let me know what's your favorite anthology movies. Leave a comment, message me on Facebook, or just post on the Facebook group. I'm Bud Haddonfield. This is The Last Video Store. Thank you for everything. Please like and subscribe, and you have a nice night.